the QB room at Clemson. What do you think is going on in the QB room? And what do you think is going on in the locker room? And we're going to hear from somebody on that team here in a few minutes as well. Clint, I'll start with you, man.
Hey, look, my jaw hit the floor when I'm sitting there watching the post game with Dabo Swinney. And when he all of a sudden goes back to, like, unprovoked, goes to DJ as our starter. I'm on record of saying that right now. I cannot believe that even if it's the right decision, I cannot believe that he made that decision on national TV in a moment where emotions are literally as high as they've been probably all year for that program, if we're being honest. I don't know how, as a head coach, you don't watch what the young fella did when he went in there, and not necessarily what he did, because he didn't have to do a whole hell of a lot in terms of something that we can actually lean on to and say, this kid can go out there and do this every Saturday and win ball games. He ran around a little bit, made a couple plays, but we still really don't know a whole lot about who he is. But the way that team responded and the juice that he brought, the energy that he brought, in that moment when their whole season was on the line, to come back from a 2-score deficit, right? Was it 2 or 3? 2-score, right?
Yeah, it was 21-10.
Yeah, to come back from a 2-score deficit and literally, the dude owned the moment, man. I'm not saying he balled out. I'm not saying, but the dude was getting up, doing his thing after first downs and bringing the crew with him. I felt like his energy was contagious. And look, I'm going to be honest with you. I think that's what DJ misses. Whether he don't have it or the team just doesn't respond to him that way, to me, that's what DJ is missing. It's not anything tangible. It's what we saw with the young kid when he stepped in there, and that energy in that building went through the roof, and the energy with that roster went through the roof. And then you go, Clemson's a better football team. Clemson's a more talented football team. They all raised their bar, and game was over.
All right, Hack.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Clint, about the emotional side. And then I'll just go there. Like, I think DJ, I don't know if DJ doesn't have it, but up until this point in the season, I think DJ's done it through his play. I think when they needed him, he's been able to make plays. And this week, he just wasn't making the plays. He was turning the football over. And I don't want to give Dabo too much credit there, but I think the shift in personalities for him might have been a reason that he did it. I think ultimately what, in my opinion, and what I've seen from Cade up until this point, and again, I'm not there every day at practice. I don't know what the kid's capable of, right? I don't see what these coaches see. I've only seen what he does on Saturdays. And up until this point, I think their best chance at making a run into the college football playoff is with DJ as their quarterback. Now, again, there's a lot to be unseen with that. Like you said, Yogi, at the beginning of the show, there's a bye week here. There's going to be some things, and there's probably going to be some tough decisions. But I did find it strange that Dabo did jump to that conclusion so quickly after the game. To your point, a lot of emotion. You usually try to give it at least a 24-hour rule, go back and reflect on it, talk about it as a staff. But he jumped to it. So to me, he must have some real conviction in that stance. And at the end of the day, it's going to be real hard for him to backpedal on it at this point in time. Whether that means DJ just rolls out there with a really short leash next in 2 weeks or not, who knows? But, I think there's definitely some things to be seen. I think if you're a college football fan, a Clemson fan, you got to really be paying attention to this.
That's a great point, Hack. The point of what is Dabo Swinney and Clemson, what are they up against, right? You're undefeated. I mean, you're all but in the college football playoffs. And so if you're Dabo Swinney, do you roll the dice on a 5-star that's inexperienced, maybe lacks a little bit of development, definitely mentally lacks a little bit of development, and you don't know how long it's going to take for him to turn the corner and actually win ball games for you by making decisions from the pocket? Do you roll the dice on that guy, or do you roll the dice on the 5-star, former 5-star that if he plays up to his ability, you can play with anybody in the country, yep. Right? I mean, that's a tough ass decision for Dabo, because both of them could end up being like just killer bad decisions. I mean, it's a tough one.
Yeah, I'll tell you where my head went, and just to set the record straight for our listeners, bye week, they go to Notre Dame. It's been down, we know. Then they don't leave their home stadium. Louisville, Miami, South Carolina, the rivalry game. So to your point, Clint, the road is there to go down. My first thought when I saw him go in was not the same stage, but was like Tua Jalen. And I'm like, oh, this will be interesting. I wonder if Alabama had another game that year. Let's just say that was week 8. And Tua came in and threw a sweet pass to win the game in that whole shot. Like, who plays the next week? And I think, heck, it's a brilliant point of like, for the head coach of Clemson to say what he said and drop the jaw of our friend Clint here and many others, including mine, he has to know something. And I don't think he's a platoon guy, but I'm going to be real curious to see how this shakes out, because we all know one thing. We know that the players, especially on offense, they already know.
Yeah.
They already know because they've seen it in practice. They've seen it in meetings. And I got to imagine Dabo knows, right? Like, he's our guy. So it'll be amazing to see how it shakes out. And if they remain undefeated, because that's their only shot, I think, to get to the playoff. I think we could look at 1 through 10, and I'd love to see Clemson play somebody outside of their league. Would love to see that. We'll obviously get that on the rivalry game, but